दंडौत बंधन कबार सर्वकला समरथ डोलन ते राखो प्रभु नानक दे कर हथ। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतह। So we are going to be going over Rup Dip Pingal, Grantha on Poetics. This is for people who weren't able to make it to the live class. If you weren't there for the first class, I won't be going over that. That's because that is concerning the Mangalacharan, right? So there's no actual poetics being explained there. If you really do want to learn it or go over it, please let me know. But otherwise, we're just going to begin where the poetics actually starts, and that's with laghu baranang. And so if you weren't there for the first class, then you don't need to worry about that. If you've only missed one class, then that's fine. You're not going to be very behind. And so I'm just going to make this very quick. If you want more in-depth explanations, if you want something more, I guess, something with more depth, then I recommend coming to the live sessions, because then we go over other things as well, right? We might go over the language being used, the alankars being used, the meters being used. We might go over how the certain things relate to other topics, right? How something in poetics might relate to grammar, or how that might relate to etymology, right? And so these are things that I'm not going to go over in the recordings, but these are things that I do go over in the live lectures. And if you do have questions, then it's better to ask them live, right? And then I can actually walk you through it, rather than me just sending you a message or something like that, right? So let us begin. Laghu baranang dohra केवल पिछरी बरन लग अवर अंकरा देख कहूँ छंद के बस गुरु चौथा लहू बशेख. So the building blocks of a stanza of a chand are matras, are syllables, okay? And a syllable can be long or it can be short. A short syllable, a short matra, is called a laghu matra, right? And a long vowel, a long syllable, or not a vowel, sorry, a long syllable or a long matra, that is considered a diragh matra. That's called a diragh matra or a guru matra, right? Two names. So we have laghu matras and we have diragh matras. And now it's going to explain what is a laghu matra. Baranang means a description. Laghu baranang, the description of a laghu matra. What is a short syllable? So it's saying keval pichri barna lag. The keval and pichri are all laghu matras, are both laghu matras. Avar ankara dekh, and as well as the ankara. So keval is referring to the mukta, keval, so by itself, is referring to the mukta. Pichri refers to the sihari, and ankara is referring to the ankar. So the ankar, the sihari, and the mukta, those are all short syllables. Those are all laghu matras. Now there's an exception to the rule. Kahu chand ke bas guru chotha lahu bashe. Kidre chand ke bas mein guru bhi laghu samjha jata hai. That sometimes the guru matra, kahu, kidre, somewhere, sometimes, chand ke bas guru, that the long syllable is considered a short syllable. And why is that? Is if it doesn't break the rhythm, right? So if the chand needs a certain, well, we'll explain this later on actually. It's better with an example. But just keep this in mind that sometimes the long syllable is considered a short syllable. And so these are four kinds of laghu matras. There's only four. Mukta, sahari, ankar, and then sometimes a diragh matra, right? Those are our four laghu matras. Now ahead is diragh baranang. So we did laghu baranang, which is the description of the short syllables. Now we're going to go over diragh baranang, description of the long syllables, right? The diragh matras. So ath diragh barnang dohra. A, I, U, E, O, Ao, Ang, A, Guru, Bakhan, Maste, Aur, Dupas, Gur, Yukta, Purab, Jan. So saying Ath diragh barnang. Now a description of the long syllables. Dohra, A, I, U, E, O, Ao, Ang, A. So these are all diragh matras. Guru, Bakhan. Know them to be the long syllables, the Guru matras. Right? And so a simpler way, instead of memorizing all this, is you could just say anything that's not one of these four or one of these three is a diragh matra, right? So if it doesn't have a mukta, if it doesn't have a sahari, or it doesn't have an onkar, then it's not a laghu matra. That means it's a diragh. It has to be diragh. Okay? So that's a simpler way. So you don't have to memorize all of these. And now it's going to explain more. There's three more guru matras. Maste. So maste is referring to the adak. Adak is a little smiley face that you have on top of words, right? Adak. Looks like that. Okay. Maste or dupas. Dupas means do bindiya, like the visarga. So in Sanskrit, this is used mostly in Sanskrit. You have two dots. They make a ha-ha sound basically. And so it's saying that makes a dirgh matra. That makes a long syllable. Right? And so the maste or the pas. So the adik and the visarg, this is called the visarg. Those are both guru matras, long syllables. And it's giving one more, yukta purab jan. Now this is a very important one that lots of people don't actually teach. Yukta purab. So yukta is referring to a dut akhar. What is a dut akhar? A dut akhar is when you have two letters that are combined. For example, here we have chakra in our example. The kakka and the rara, they're combined. That's called a dut akhar. So yukta means a dut akhar. Pura means before. So the letter before a dut akhar is also a long syllable. It's a diragh matra. Now lots of people confuse this with the dut akhar. This is not saying that the dut akhar is a diragh matra. That's not what's happening. It is saying the letter before the dut akhar, that's going to have a diragh matra. And what does that mean? Is that even if, let's say, chakra is written without maybe let's see if I can type this out. So let's say chakra is written without the adak. Even if it's not written with the adak, it is still pronounced with it, right? Because it comes before a dut akhar, right? It precedes a dut akhar, so automatically is pronounced with the adak, right? So this also resolves quite a few issues, right? So for example, the Dasam Granth manuscripts, right? In one manuscript for Jap Sahib, you have chakra chahan with an adak on the chakra. In another manuscript, you don't have the adak. But in reality, what do we get from this? What do we learn from this? Is that it's actually the same thing, right? So there's no issue in that. So these are the guru matras, okay? So yukta pura. So the adak, the visarg, and the letter before a dut akhar, right? And as well as all of these. So anything that's not a mukta, not a sahari, or not a onkar, that is a diragh matra. Always keep that in mind. And now what do we do with these? We create further building blocks. These are called gan. A gan is a set of 3 letters. Okay, 3 letters with varying syllable counts. And what does that mean? Is there sets of 3 syllables, right? So gan is a set of 3 syllables. And what are these then? How do they work? Explains it here. I'm just going to show a picture so it's easier to understand first. So what does S-I-I, what does this all mean? An S refers to, let me just, S refers to a long syllable, and I refers to a short syllable. So we learned what a diragh and a laghu matra is. So S is representing a diragh matra, and the I is a laghu matra. And so these are our building blocks, sets of 3 matras. And this is how we're going to compose our shands. Okay, how we're going to create our meters. So magan. So magan, it's all diragh matras. Pagan, it's only diragh at the first one. Jagan is diragh in the middle. Sagan is only diragh at the end. And in the next set, so we did our first set of 4. In the next set of 4, we see the opposite. It's all laghu matras. Then it's only the first one has a laghu matra. Then only the second one has a laghu matra. And then only the last one has a laghu matra. Right? And so this is what's being explained in Rup Dip Pingal. At gan barnang. So she's listing them off first. Magan pagan kahiye jagan sagan nagan yaganeho. Ragan tagan pingal pane gan atho lakhaleho. These are the 8 gans. Right? Magan, Pagan, Jagan, Sagan, Nagan, Yagan, Ragan, Tagan. Now these are things that you should memorize. This is something that you should memorize for sure. Right? There are the guns and their order. If you memorize the order, then you'll figure out what they are. And how do we know that? It's because there's a formula to it. Right? So this should be on your priority list to just memorize this stanza. Right? That's why it's written in poetry. So it's easier to memorize, right? Instead of memorizing Magan, Pagan, Jagan, Sagan, you can actually just memorize the stanza, right? Magan, Pagan, Kehiye Jagan, Sagan, Nagan, Yaganeho, Ragan, Tagan, Pingal, Pane, Gan, Atho, Lakhleho, right? Just memorize that small doha, right? And so what is the formula? At gan roop barnang. So now it's describing the formula. How do we construct these guns? How do we know which one is which, right? Sarab ad mad ant gur, taise hi lag jaan. Right? Pingal kahyo vichar ka kram hi kram pehchan. So this is the order. This is the kram. Sarab ad mad ant gur. So saying first take the guru matra, the long syllables, and make the first gan sarab, all guru matras. Right? Sarab. Then what is it? Then what does it say? Ad mad ant. Right? So first he's saying sarab guru. First make all of them diragh. Then he's saying ad. Then make the first one diragh. Mad. Make the middle one diragh. Ant. Make the ending syllable diragh. Right? And this way you construct the formula. Or you get the roop or the structure of the gans. And it's saying taise hi lagjan. Right? Taise hi lagjan. So do the exact same thing with the laghu. Sarab, ad, mad, ant. Right? All first, middle, last with the diragh matra. Right? So this is how you construct the gans. This is how you figure out which gan is which. And now these are the building blocks that we use. Right? And so that's all I'll go over for today. And now let's go over some examples. Right, so here I have a line from Nithanim, right? Tav Prasad Swaye. Now let's put to use what we learned. Right? So Sra. Let's start with the first letter. Is this the first syllable? Is this a long syllable or a short syllable? Is it diragh or is this laghu? This is a diragh. So we'll put the S to signify diragh. The same way we did here. Right? Now let's move on to the second letter. Vava. Is this the V? Is this diragh or is this laghu? Right? What are our 3 types of laghu matras? Mukta, Sehari and Onkar. Is this one of those three? Yes, it's a mukta. So then it will be a laghu matra. Okay, very simple. Same thing with the gagga. This is going to be a laghu matra. Now let's go on to suddh. Now, what did we say? Maste or dupasgur. The adak, that's also a guru matra. This is going to be guru. Right? Now this is going to be laghu. Hopefully you're figuring out how to recognize it. Right? Now we have another laghu. Now we have another dirgh. Right? Haha, this is another laghu. Another laghu. Right? And hopefully you're seeing the pattern here. Right? What is the pattern? Long, short, short. Long, short, short. Long, short, short. Right? And if we go back here, what gun is this? What set of three is it using? It is using a long, short, short. It's using a gun. Right? So this is what I mean by you're gonna start seeing things that you couldn't see before. Right? This is the beauty of poetics, right? You're seeing the skeleton, what's actually going on behind the scenes. Right? Sravag Suddh Samuh Siddhana ke Dekh Firyo Kare Jog Jati ke. This is not just some random letters thrown together, right? Or make it, right? There's actual structure to it, right? There's a kram to it, there's an order to it, right? There's a logic to it, right? And so this is a type of swaya called an indav swaya. Indav. Now what's interesting, and what's you'll find in a lot of the names of these shams, is why is this called an indav swaya? Right? You could call it anything. Why is it called indav? It's because if you actually break down the word indav, what is in? In is a long vowel, or a long syllable. The da, that's a short. Va, that's a short. What do we have here? Even the name is a long short short. The name is also a pagan, and it's composed of pagan. Right? So that's something to take note of as well, right? These names are often based on the stanzas themselves. Right? Now let's just count the rest of the stanza and then go over a few things. Right? So this is going to be a long. This is going to be short. And oh wait, what's happened here? We have another long. Right? This is supposed to be made of pagans. This is supposed to be long, short, short, long, short, short, long, short, short. But then this is going long, short, long. How can this happen? You've lied to me. You're a fraud. Now, first I want you to calm down. Take a deep breath. If you need to, you can hold someone's hand. We're going to go through this together. Now, think about the fourth laghu matra. What was the fourth type of short syllable? If we go back here, the fourth type of short syllable, Kahu chand ke bas guru, chautha lahu base. That sometimes the long syllable is considered a short syllable if it does not break the meter. How do we know if it's breaking the meter or not? Well, if you sing it, Sravag Suddh Samuh Siddhane ke Dekh Firyo Kare Jog Jati ke. Did that cause a break in the meter? Did that ruin the rhythm? No. That's because it is considered a laghu matra, right? It doesn't actually inhibit, it doesn't actually affect the meter, right? So that's why it is an exception, right? That we're allowed to do this. That we're allowed to consider this diragh as a laghu. Now let's move forward. Right? Dekh. So this is also another diragh, long syllable. This is another short syllable. Now what do we have here? Right? You lied to me again. It's supposed to go long, short, short, long, short, short, but this is going Long, short, short, short. This is supposed to be another long. You're a fraud again. You've lied to me twice. No. I want you to calm down again. And we're going to get through this one just like we went through the last one. This is actually a very unique case. It's not very unique, but it's very common. And so there's a special rule built around this. And that's any letter that's followed by a yo or a o, it's actually considered as one diragh, right? So for example, I use the example of the rada. If a rada comes before a yo, that becomes just one diragh. Right? It's not considered, you don't break them up actually, right? Same thing with an uda, hoda, right? If it's and with a sahari, right? If the letter preceding that, they're all considered one diragh matra, right? So even though it looks like it's two separate things, one long and one short, it's actually just considered one long. Okay? So you can calm down, take a deep breath. It's not going to be a long, short, short, short. It's going to be a long, short, short, long again. Right? And we can have long, another short, 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 and then we end it off with a long and a long. And so this is how you make a Indav Swiya. Right? This is the first time you've ever learned. Right? So we have how many pagans? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right? We have 7 pagan, and it ends with 2 guru matras, 2 diragh matras. And so that's the formula of Indav Swiya. Is 7 pagan and 2 gurus. Right? And so hopefully you learned how a diragh matra works, how a short syllable works, all that. And so this is the bread and butter of poetics. Right? Hopefully you're starting to see the beauty of this, right? Hopefully you're getting the swag out of it, right? And I hope that after seeing this, you get motivation to come to the live classes. I hope that if it's not too complicated. If there is anything that is too complicated, please do reach out. Let me know. I don't understand this. You explained this very poorly. I have no problem with that. Right? The main objective is for you to learn. Right? And so be unapologetic. Be unapologetic when it comes to learning. Right? Don't be shy. Right? If you're gonna learn, then learn. Right? With the Josh. Right? So Guru Kripa, that's would be the end of this session, or this lecture. And we went over up until Gan Roop Baranan. The PDF of this Granth has been posted in the Discord channel. So if you want to look at that. But anyways, we'll just leave it at that. We'll end off with a little mangal. Govinde mukande yudare apare Hariyam karyam nirname akame Chakra chihnnar varna jatar patna hinjah Roop rangar rekh pekh ko kahana sakat kah Achal murat anapo prakas amitto jikihjay Kot indra indrana साह साहान गनिजय त्रिभवन महीप सुर नर असुर नेत नेत बंतं कहत तब सर्वनाम कथय कवण कर्म नाम बरनत सुमत ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।